Hi, everyone. This is Melissa Ainslie, and this is episode 5 of the 11 Intuitions podcast. Today's title is Baseball, Catholicism, and Government Cheese. My grandma's message on grief. So today's story really was not planned at all. One of my student sitters canceled, and so I stepped in. This literally happened 3 hours ago. And Spirit surprised me with the last person I ever expected to hear from. My grandmother. And her message really was not just for me. It was for anyone who has ever carried grief. And it was her story. It was my dad's story. And in many ways, it was my story too. And Spirit made it clear. The cycle of suffering doesn't have to continue. Let me tell you a little bit about my grandmother, which I found out a lot today that I did not know. She was born in 1903. And at 35, she lost both of her parents within 24 hours. I had no idea about this. Her father died after a short illness, and the very next day, her mother collapsed and died after picking out his coffin. Then at 39, she lost her brother. And then at 40, which I knew this, she lost her firstborn son, only 21 years old, killed in World War II. By the time she was 40, she had buried her parents, her brother, and then her son. And so these are her words through Spirit. When she came through, she showed herself as stoic, buttoned up, wearing a cameo brooch, no smile, no expression. And she explained why. She said, I lived a life of sadness. I tried to get on with my life, but I never had the tools, the help, or the understanding. I wanted to disappear, to hide, to sleep my life away. But I had people to take care of, so I kept going. That was my blessing, but also my burden. She admitted how heavy it felt. She said, I thought I was being punished. I would stand at the altar in front of the cross, begging, what did I do wrong? Why me? I carried grief until it filled my whole body. And that's how I died, with a heavy heart that finally gave out. Let's go back to grief in her time. Back in her generation, grief wasn't something you could talk about. There were no counselors, no support groups, no grief programs at senior centers, which is where she lived. The only answer the church could give us was pray and you'll be reunited in heaven. And really, that was comforting in some ways. But it also meant people like my grandmother believed that the only way peace would come was through death. And in the meantime, she lived alone in her apartment night after night without the tools to find joy again. This is her understanding after death, but from her spirit, her message was different. And she said, the intensity of grief I carried is the intensity of joy I feel now because I've been reunited with the ones I lost. My lesson was grief, but I see now that I didn't have to suffer my whole life. I could have known joy again, and that's why I'm speaking now, so no one else has to suffer the way I did. And then she spoke directly to me. Melissa, this is your work. You are helping people understand they don't have to carry grief forever. You've already helped hundreds. You will help thousands through podcasts, through television, through teaching. People will trust you because of your humility. They'll feel the truth in your soul. I will bring people to you. That's my mission now. Then she acknowledged my humanity. Yes, you are human. Yes, you have an ego, but that's not what drives you. You always come back to love, to center, to humility. That's why people will listen. And she gave me this encouragement. You don't need to figure out how. The path is already opening. Stop worrying about the dead ends. Expect the unexpected. It's already orchestrated for you. Such a beautiful message from her today, and one I really did not expect. Let me tell you about what I discovered today after this reading. The generational thread of grief. Her words made me think of my father. He adored his mother, and he saw her carry grief and turn to her faith. So that's basically what he did too. When my mother died in 2016, my dad turned to the rosary and prayers every single day. He did not miss that. He went back to his bedroom with his dogs, and the dogs knew it was time for prayers. Crying embarrassed him, but he couldn't hide it when it came to her. He never remarried because he was devoted to her, and he believed she visited him through a wind chime in his house that rang constantly. That same wind chime is behind me as I'm recording now, and that has never once moved in my house. I remember the day he got the call that his mother, my grandmother, had died. He bawled his eyes out. At that time, I rarely saw him cry, but when it came to her, he couldn't stop. And then a year after my mother passed, in 2017, when his ex-wife passed, I hit my own breaking point. I couldn't take one more death. At 43, nearly the same age my grandmother was when her grief nearly consumed her, I had a nervous breakdown. And it was because I took my dad's advice and he told me, go back to work. That's the best you can do. And that was the worst advice that I could have been given. But he didn't know any better. Now hearing from what his mother has to say about her time was she didn't know how to deal with grief either. And he saw how she handled it. She just went back to her work. So the difference is this. My grandmother carried her grief in silence. My father numbed his in faith. I broke open, and that breaking became my breakthrough into mediumship. What are my memories of her? I don't have many memories of my grandmother, but the ones I do are vivid. I remember her apartment, always with baseball on the TV and blocks of government cheese that we always had to take home, which I hated. I remember her poor eyesight and her rocking me in a rocking chair that I still own today. And I remember Sunday dinners when she came over. I remember her church. She lived right across from it. And to me as a child, it looked like a cathedral. And my favorite time of the year was the church's spaghetti dinner. My dad loved the food. So did I. But I loved it because it meant sitting in church with her. If you asked me about her growing up, I would have told you one thing. She was devoutly Catholic. That's probably what was instilled in my father and their family, and why me and my sisters all went to Catholic school our whole entire life. So what is her message to you today? Her message today is so important because it's not just for me. She said, there's no need to suffer. Healing is possible. Love is stronger than sorrow. People need to know they aren't crazy when they feel their loved ones near. They aren't making it up. And they need to know they have permission to live again, to laugh, to remarry, to find joy, to celebrate life without guilt. She went on, Melissa, you are a teacher. Teach them in small steps. Don't give a fire hose. Give them breadcrumbs, because grief shuts people down and they need someone gentle to guide them back to life. You are that person. Her message is clear. Grief doesn't have to be inherited. It doesn't have to define you. And we don't have to keep repeating the cycle my grandmother and my father lived. Grief shaped my grandmother's life. It shaped my dad's life, and it nearly broke mine. But Spirit is showing us that it doesn't have to be that way anymore. We have tools, we have community, we have each other, and we have Spirit guiding us, reminding us that love never dies. So Grandma, thank you. I see you. I hear you. And I'll keep guiding people with your help. And one more thing. Can we please have some better cheese this time? Thank you for listening to today's very unexpected episode 5 of the 11 Intuitions podcast. If you have your own grief and need some help, we can help you. If you're interested in working with me because you have had your own experiences with Spirit, or if you just want some more information, feel free to visit us at www.11intuitions.com.